At 92 years old, Antonio had already been through so much, from being homeless to unable to provide his next meal. He had no idea one humiliating situation in a busy cafe would change what he thought would be his fate. Of all the most unexpected surprises that fateful day, meeting multi-billionaire Elon Musk wasn't on Antonio's cards. And not only did Elon do the unthinkable, when Antonio asked for a simple sandwich in the cafe, he was also the reason Antonio's life changed forever. Join us as we tell you what could be the most touching story you'll hear today. The unwelcomed visitor. It seemed like just another regular day in the Petals Café, until a strange quietness took over when the door swung open. An elderly man walked in slowly, almost dragging his feet as he entered. At 92 years old, Antonio looked tired and worn out from life. His frail, hunched body carried not just the burden of his age, but also the weight of many years of hardship. His old, faded clothes offered little protection against the chilly air, and his shoes were so worn that they barely covered his toes. As he moved through the cafe, his hands shook, and he tried to ignore the disapproving looks from the other customers. Each step he took was a struggle between maintaining his dignity and fulfilling his basic needs. Antonio kept his gaze low, afraid of the obvious disdain he sensed in the room. He understood that people didn't want him there, but he felt he had no other option. Little did he know that one person would show him the kindness none of the others did. The other customers' murmurs seemed to echo in his mind, making him feel even more out of place. He knew that his presence was not welcomed, yet he pressed on, driven by the hunger that gnawed at him. The cold air bit at his skin, and he could feel the weight of his years pressing down on him with every step. Even with the judgmental stares, he focused on the warmth of the coffee and the hope that maybe, just maybe, he could find a moment of comfort in this bustling place. Antonio's heart ached not just from hunger, but from the loneliness that came with being so visibly out of place. He understood that life had not been kind to him, but he still held on to a flicker of hope as he walked through the crowd, determined to find a spot where he could rest, even if just for a little while. When he got to the counter, he put his few coins down on the surface. The owner, Francesca, a middle-aged woman known for her unfriendly nature, looked him over with a look of disgust. Her apron, which used to be white, was now stained with spilled coffee, but the way she looked at him was even more filled with judgment. Antonio quietly asked for the cheapest sandwich, his voice barely rising above the chatter around him. His dirty, unkempt fingers fumbled with the coins as he tried to appear confident. Francesca crossed her arms and gave him a stern look, telling him that this wasn't a homeless shelter and that if he didn't have money, he shouldn't expect to eat. Feeling humiliated, Antonio took a deep breath to keep himself together. He pleaded softly for anything she could give him, saying he was hungry. His voice was almost a whisper, but the desperation in his eyes was clear. The atmosphere around him felt even heavier, as if everyone could sense his struggle. Some customers were quietly talking among themselves, clearly feeling uneasy about his presence, but nobody stepped up to help. Francesca leaned in close to Antonio, her voice full of disdain, and said that he couldn't just come in and ask for free food. She told him they didn't have any leftovers and suggested he go somewhere else. The whispers turned into soft laughter, and a nearby customer shook his head with a sarcastic smile, agreeing that he should leave. Antonio stood there with tears in his eyes, unsure if he should walk away or try to stay a little longer. His stomach growled, and he felt overwhelmed with shame, as if everyone around him was judging his entire life at that moment. The heavy silence in the cafe felt like it was pressing down on him, making him wish he could just vanish, but his legs wouldn't cooperate. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, the door to the cafe swung open again, and everyone turned to see the Tesla CEO walk in. The atmosphere changed as all eyes were drawn to this new arrival, momentarily breaking the tension that had surrounded Antonio. Elon Musk, with his neatly styled hair and dressed in a sharp suit, walked into the room with a lot of confidence. His eyes narrowed as he took in everything happening around him. Without any hesitation, he made his way to the counter, and the mood in the room shifted instantly. Francesca, who had been acting quite arrogantly just moments before, suddenly looked unsure when she realized that this powerful figure had arrived. Elon Musk was not just any customer. He was a well-known billionaire in the city, and his presence demanded respect. He asked firmly, with a tone that showed his disapproval, what the issue was. His gaze was fixed on Antonio, who stood still, trying to keep whatever dignity he had left. Francesca tried to pull herself together, but it was clear that everyone in the cafe was now focused on what would happen next with Elon Musk's unexpected involvement. Elon's unexpected interference. Elon Musk glanced at Antonio, offering a comforting smile while reaching out his hand. He assured Antonio that he wouldn't have to worry about lunch today because he would take care of it. Antonio, taken aback, looked at him with tears in his eyes, which now sparkled with a hint of hope. Meanwhile, Elon shifted his attention to Francesca, who was still reeling from the unexpected turn of events and was trying to assert her authority. The earlier conflict between Antonio and Francesca had now shifted entirely towards Elon, who radiated a quiet yet powerful presence. Francesca insisted that Elon should not be served there, trying to regain control of the situation by stating that this place wasn't meant for that kind of people. Elon remained composed, but his eyes held a fierce intensity that made Francesca falter. He leaned in slightly and pointed out that they were discussing a human being, not an animal. The other customers, who had previously enjoyed watching Antonio's embarrassment, now observed the drama with interest and discomfort. Elon Musk glanced at Antonio, offering a comforting smile while reaching out his hand. He assured Antonio that he wouldn't have to worry about lunch today because he would take care of it. Antonio, taken aback, looked at him with tears in his eyes, which now sparkled with a hint of hope. Meanwhile, Elon shifted his attention to Marcel, who was still reeling from the unexpected turn of events and was trying to assert her authority. The earlier conflict between Antonio and Francesca had now shifted entirely towards Elon, who radiated a quiet yet powerful presence. Marcel insisted that Elon should not be served there, trying to regain control of the situation by stating that this place wasn't meant for that kind of people. Elon remained composed, but his eyes looked very determined, and that made Marcel falter. He leaned in slightly and pointed out that they were discussing a human being, not an animal. The other customers, who had previously enjoyed watching Antonio's embarrassment, now observed the unfolding drama with a mix of intrigue and discomfort. Francesca crossed her arms, insisting that the place wasn't a charity center, and that if someone didn't have money, she couldn't help them. Elon Musk chuckled briefly as he pointed out that while she talked about charity, she was treating a person like they were beneath that. He emphasized that charity should be a choice and that humanity shouldn't be judged. Meanwhile, Antonio, who had been quietly watching, felt a mix of emotions. It was unusual for someone to stand up for him, especially with such passion. The embarrassment he had felt earlier started to fade into astonishment. He never thought someone as notable as Elon Musk would come to his defense, and he struggled to hold back tears as he noticed the concern in Elon's eyes. Elon leaned in closer, speaking gently to Antonio, telling him he could eat whatever he wanted that day. He then placed his hand over Antonio's, pushing the coins back towards him and reassuring him not to worry about it. Francesca, feeling more embarrassed by the moment, tried to end the conversation, saying that if that was how Elon wanted it, then fine, but it wouldn't happen again. Her pride was still hurt. That's not all. Francesca also felt a chill run through her as she realized that what she had just said might lead to some serious outcomes. The other customers around her seemed to steer clear of getting involved directly, but it was obvious that many of them were starting to think twice about what they had just seen. Antonio, after finally regaining some of his composure, was guided to a table by a staff member, all while Elon kept a close watch on him. As Antonio settled into his chair, Elon Musk approached and pulled out a chair for himself. He then asked Antonio what he would like to eat, noting that he must be hungry and suggesting they take care of that. The tone that had once been firm and unintimidated shifted to one that was warm and welcoming, showing a different side of Elon. Antonio was feeling a bit lost on how to show his appreciation and quietly said that he didn't know how to thank his mom for everything she was doing for him. Elon Musk, smiling, shook his head and told him there was no need for thanks. He suggested they start with a nice lunch and then have a chat. As they waited, Elon kept a close eye on the waiter, who seemed a bit hesitant as he brought Antonio's meal. The waiter placed a sandwich and a cup of coffee on the table, looking less than excited. But under Elon's serious gaze, he didn't say anything. Antonio looked at the food in front of him, feeling both surprise and thankfulness. His hands were still shaking a little as he slowly reached for the sandwich, but paused, almost as if he was waiting for this moment to disappear like a dream. Elon noticed and encouraged him with a warm smile, which was a nice change from his earlier serious demeanor. He told Antonio that the meal was his and that he deserved it. Antonio felt thankful as he took his first bite of the sandwich, and suddenly, all the shame and embarrassment he had just experienced seemed to fade away. He chewed slowly, almost with a sense of reverence, while Elon Musk observed him quietly, trying to understand the strange emotions stirring in his chest. As Antonio enjoyed his meal, the cafe returned to forced normalcy. Francesca, still upset about Elon Musk's involvement, had stepped away from the counter to speak quietly with the staff, occasionally glancing over at the table where the two men were sitting. Antonio continued to enjoy his sandwich, feeling a warmth in his heart that he couldn't quite explain. The kind offer. Elon Musk wanted to know the old man's story and how he ended up that way, but he treaded carefully so he wouldn't strike a nerve or bring back painful memories. Antonio was grateful to Elon, his eyes sparkling with appreciation. Elon returned the gesture with a smile and a nod, saying it was no trouble at all. He then asked Antonio if he could learn more about his life. Antonio's demeanor shifted to one of caution, making Elon feel like he might have crossed a line. Quickly, Elon reassured him that it was perfectly fine if he preferred not to share. However, after taking a deep breath, Antonio decided to open up about his past. He mentioned that he once had a family, including a wife and children, and they ran a small restaurant together. Life had been enjoyable for them. As Elon listened closely while Antonio ate, the older man continued his story. He revealed that everything changed when his wife passed away, and soon after, his children grew up and left home. The restaurant faced difficulties, leading to the loss of everything he had built. Antonio's eyes became sad as he described how he ended up living on the streets, struggling to survive. Elon felt a deep sympathy for him and expressed how brave it was for Antonio to share such personal experiences. Antonio then remarked that it was interesting how people often ignored him, but Elon was the first to show interest in his story. Elon responded by saying that everyone has a story that deserves to be heard, including Antonio's. At that moment, Elon took out his phone and called his assistant, Sam, asking for help for Antonio. He instructed Sam to arrange a temporary place to stay, food, and clothing for him, and to look for any family or friends who might want to reconnect with him. Antonio was really surprised when Elon gave him the phone and told him that Sam would handle everything for him. In the weeks that followed, Elon's team worked hard to help Antonio get his life back on track. They managed to find his daughter, who had been looking for him for a long time. When they finally met, it was a very emotional moment, with Antonio crying tears of joy as he hugged his daughter tightly. Elon was there too, feeling proud of the whole situation and quietly telling Sam that this was what it was all about. As Antonio began to adjust to his new life, Elon made sure to check in on him often, telling him that he was now part of the family and that they were in this together. Antonio felt grateful and told Elon that he had given him a second chance. to which Elon replied that everyone deserves that chance. It didn't end there. As time went on, Antonio really started to thrive. He began volunteering at a local soup kitchen, helping others who were facing tough times. One day, he got a surprise call from Elon, who asked him to be a guest speaker for a new initiative he was launching to help the homeless. Antonio was taken aback and wondered if he could really speak in front of so many people. Elon laughed and encouraged him, saying that he had an important story to share and that the world needed to hear it. So, Antonio took the stage and talked about his journey from being homeless to finding hope. The audience gave him a big round of applause, and Elon felt proud of how far Antonio had come. After they finished, Antonio thanked Elon for believing in him when no one else did, and Elon, with misty eyes, told him that he was a true example of why everyone deserves a second chance. What do you think about this story? We would love to know in the comments. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next updates. Also, click the next video on your screen to enjoy more exciting content.